In 1996, I left the comfortable. I left a job that I thought I would do the rest of my life. I was in the grocery business, and I got a call of God on my life, and we moved to Louisiana, Missouri. The reason we moved there was, if some of you remember Mike Steed, but Mike Steed's pastor was Earl Wood. And Earl Wood had been pastor at First Baptist Church, Louisiana, Missouri for several years. And I got a call one day to pray about coming to be the associate pastor. Well, I went there in 96, and I left the comfortable, and I went into the unknown. And so today, I got to share with you that lasting first impression. On the Sunday morning, that was my first Sunday, I was introduced, and I was sitting right next to Dr. Wood. The song leader was over here, and me and Dr. Wood was sitting right here. And he introduced me, and then Dr. Wood preached. We went to the back like we normally do. So he's out there, and I'm out there. People shaking hands. And a lady by the name of Leon Cadwalder come up and said, "Brother Steve, I hate your beard." In saying that, Dr. Wood said, "And Leon, I hate your dress." What had I gotten into? But there was this riff here. There was this always funny joking going on between them. But I'm new. I don't know that. And so my first lasting impression, I don't think I'll ever forget that. I was caught off guard. And it's just, I had a beard at the time, and I thought, boy, you know, I look good. I smell good. And then she comes up and says that. And I learned through the years what a sweet lady she was. And what a great family they were. But I was not clued in to the joke. So anyway, I didn't think she had an ugly dress on, but Dr. Wood did. Okay, so first lasting impressions. I want to give you two or three, and then we'll get into the sermon. I've always been a John Maxwell fan. I love his teaching. I love what he has to say in leadership. And I went to the first conference that I was able to go to, and he did something there that I've watched on video, but he did something live there that this is who he was. He goes, "Hi, my name's John. I'm your friend." And he did that on the video, and he did that live, and I thought, I'll never forget that, because he said that we're friends. And he said, "I'm John Mack." You know, loved ones, he's preached and taught all around the world to millions of people now. And he said to us, we're friends. He said, "Hi, I'm John." Maybe he broke the ice because he had some things to share with us that really jumped on our toes. Those of you who know Ken Dillingham has been teaching with us on Wednesday nights. Remember Ken and Debbie? Okay, they've been teaching the money management. The first time I saw Ken Dillingham was at football practice at Fairfield Community High School. And he's the new assistant football coach, but he's also the new head basketball coach. And I'll never forget, as he walked up to the practice that day, he had on this white, bright white polo shirt that said Milwaukee Bucks. And I thought, dude, I wonder if that guy played for the Bucks. I didn't know. And to this day, even the other night when they were here, you know, when last week they're gone, now they're on vacation, but they did a great job teaching. And I said, that has forever impacted me just on the first look. And we know sometimes our first look, our first glance grabs us. And there was a young man from Ellery, Illinois, who lived in an iron lung at night, who was in a wheelchair during the day, and his name was Donnie Sachs. And Donnie Sachs traveled around to different churches, and he spoke and gave testimony. And he told me one day, because I said, "Why don't you let us pray for you that God will heal you?" He goes, "Don't touch me. God has made me this way so I can reach people." That first lasting impression. Now, I know Donnie Sachs, when I see him next, he's in heaven already. He's going to be whole. But God used him, and that first lasting impression was, why would a guy want to stay in a wheelchair? He goes, "No, that's how God uses me." So I'm going to get into that today. And there was also a guy that said one time, as you hung your harps on the willow. Some of you don't know who that was. You can ask me later. We're going to jump right into a story in John 7. John 7:24. And again today the whole thing is about what Crystal read too, is wow me. I'm ready for God to wow us this Christmas. I'm ready for God to wow us in this moment of celebration. We're also seeing, I was told a while ago by Wes, hey, you got a nice crowd today. You know, you're always a nice crowd, but the numbers are higher, and they should be around Christmas. And they should be every week. Come on now. Wow me. And we're going to talk about that today. It says, in John 7:24, Jesus had a conflict with the Pharisees. They wanted to kill him now. He wasn't their friend. They didn't like him because the Pharisees controlled everybody. And they had them on their thumbs and pressed them down. And they were the middle of hypocrisy. They did not have in them what Jesus could give them. They just were a religious group of people who loved being in control. And when Jesus come on the scene, they couldn't grasp him. They couldn't accept him because everything before that was, when you break the law, you gotta pay. And Jesus says, when you break the law, I can forgive. Aren't you glad? Aren't you glad that you're forgiven? I'm so glad I'm forgiven today. And so, as I look at the first lasting impression, it says in John 7:24, it says, I'm going to back up a little bit. And it says in verse 20, the crowd replied, you're demon-possessed. Why? Who is trying to kill you, Jesus? Jesus replied, I did one miracle on the Sabbath. I can just hear him say, I did one miracle on the Sabbath, and you're amazed. But you work on the Sabbath. When you obey Moses' law of circumcision, actually, this tradition of circumcision began with the patriarchs long before the law of Moses. Verse 23, for if the correct time for circumcising your son falls on the Sabbath, you go ahead and do it so as to not break the law of Moses. In other words, you are putting the law of Moses above God, and you don't get it. You don't understand it. Look beneath the surface so you can judge correctly. Now, it is not our job to judge. Our first thing that we can do is exactly what Crystal spoke today. Love one another. Love one another. And I'm going to be talking about, isn't it pretty in here today? Have you noticed? Isn't it pretty? I was wondering where Sherry put that Noel, and when I come in, I go, oh, that's beautiful. It's right there. But guess what? I'm going to talk about the front door today. I'm going to talk about the front door. I'm going to talk about Debbie's area out there, you know, that sweet spot. I want to talk about that, about wowing people. Jesus said, now, you Pharisees are trying to kill me. You're trying to stop me from giving grace and salvation to the world. You're so uppity and you're just so hypocritical. You don't get it. And the power of God brought Jesus here, and we're going to celebrate at the birth, and we just sang a song about the death. He says, I'm going to win. Even to the Pharisees, where they hated him. And Jesus stood in the gap for us. He stood in the crowd. And the cool thing was, he had so much power that several times when Jesus spoke and the crowd was ready to stone somebody or kill somebody or do something, it says that the crowd walked away. The power of God. God was not going to allow Jesus to come and not die. Even if it got in the way of the church and the Pharisees and all that kind of stuff, it was this first lasting impression. Jesus was here on the scene for grace and mercy, forgiveness and salvation. And it collided with their mindset. And I've heard recently, as we go through these classes, that even here at First Christian Church, Wayne City, we need to change our mindset. We need to get back to the fact that we need to love lost people. That we need to love them and accept them and be ready to meet them and greet them. And that's going to be part of the message. So, as John 7:24 says this, did the Pharisees act more godly than Jesus? Goodness sakes, no. They thought they were. See, they thought Jesus was under them. Isn't that interesting? They just thought Jesus was less than them. And so they were acting all pious and all this kind of, arrogance. They were not acting godly. They were acting foolishly. They were acting in a place where they don't understand. And I want to tell you, as people come into our building and we bring them and we invite them, they are foolish because they don't have in them what we have. And that's okay because they're searching. We're searching and seeking. Weren't you there? Weren't you at one time seeking Jesus and searching for Jesus? We don't have to tell them they're bad. We already know we're bad. The discussion this morning in Sunday school class was, when you go to a restaurant and you sit with friends, do they change their vocabulary when you sit down? And if they do, that's good. Because we represent Jesus. We represent morality and godliness, and we represent that. And so there should be a clash with society. Number two was Jesus had the right perspective. Aren't you glad He loved you more than submitting to the law? The perspective is wow, He put them in their place. Guess what? God's going to say today, He's going to put us in our place. Because today's one of those kind of messages. We need to rethink and change the mindset and change the culture. Okay? What does God look at? Our heart. Jesus says, you can't judge by the outside. And I'm going to use this passage and another passage. It's so important. Jesus was trying to get them to understand, I see your heart. And it's empty. And it's uncaring, unloving, uncommitted. You're trying to hang on to what was less than perfect when you can have perfection. You're holding on to this thing that covers your sin. In exchange, you can have something that removes your sin. He says, He looked at the heart. Here's my point. Anyone who comes to enter our church should not be judged by accepted by how they look. Everybody go like this. Some of you are sleeping. That's okay. I'll use my outside voice in a minute. You see, they should be accepted and loved at the door because they're future family. Oh, I didn't think about it that way. I just thought there was Joe Blow down here that always beats his wife or whatever, and, he's a no good. Let me tell you something. You're judging. Well, they don't have on pretty white tennis shoes like I got. I don't like them. We get all strung out and messed up by the stupid, crazy things where Satan puts in our mindset. When they come to the door, you need to say, hey, that's my future sister and brother in Christ. We should have that mindset that they are ours. It's a gift to us. It's something that somebody comes into the world. It was kind of like me. I was blindsided by Leon Cadwalder. But I was at the right place at the right time doing the right thing. And the passage this morning in Sunday school said, you're going to have trouble. Get over it. You're going to have trouble. And if you really, really know Christ as your personal Savior, not just here, but when you really know Him, it helps you sustain the hard times. It helps you have the tenacity to keep going. It helps you to swallow hard and keep your mouth shut. It helps you to be forgiving and kind when you don't want to. I know who you are. I'm just like you. It's a good lesson today to look at that first lasting impression because we have it every week. The first lasting impression. We've been doing first impression class. It's been wild. It's been crazy. The first week they showed up, I said, we're not using a book. I'm going to send you out on assignment. This is one of those classes, if you are creative and you love to think and exercise your brain, this would have been perfect for you. We'll do it again sometime. But it's been really cool. The first week, I gave them a paper, a tablet, or a clipboard and a pen and paper. I said, go outside and tell me everything you see about the parking lot. You see, there's a reason. The next week, I want you to go to the front door and I want you to tell me what you see. The next week, I want you to go to the children's area and I want you to tell me what you see. I want you to think about the signage. I want you to think about the warmth of the building. And this morning, somebody said in Sunday school class that it's been heard around town that we're the friendliest church in town. We ought to be. Come on. Who is our product? Jesus Christ. And I don't want to measure our happiness and our warmth to my brother down the road. That's who we are. We leave a lasting impression, and we have to change the mindset from somebody we have to meet to somebody that we're gifted to meet. And we're going to talk about the first impressions. It's important, the parking lot. So many cool things was brought up. We are receiving people. You ever been to a reception? Receptions are fine. What's ours look like? At the door. See, Jesus said, I want you to look at the heart, not the outside, because all we see is the outside. You know, they got a crazy shirt on. You know what? We've been guilty at church camp. Church camp, sometimes the kids wear T-shirts that's not appropriate. Can you imagine? Probably because mom and dad bought it for them. Ouch. And they show up with I'm sorry, you don't have to take that off. Okay. Because there's a norm here. Our Christian life has a normal. It has a standard. And guess what? If somebody comes through the door with an inappropriate shirt, you better not throw them out because of the inappropriate shirt. I got another story of a guy that was in the Crossville church, and he got onto a guy who had a hat on. And I went to him later and I says, you do realize who that guy was, right? Yeah, he's so-and-so. I said, no, he's the husband of so-and-so and the father of these kids who've been coming here, and they've been waiting for him to come to church sometime. He showed up in a cowboy outfit. Any of you guys got the cowboy outfits? I'm talking about the boots, and the western pants, the western jacket. He had the western tie on, but he had a cowboy hat on. And I said, you need to go apologize to him. We've been waiting for him. He goes, well, because you asked me, I'll go. And he apologized to him. And my friend who wore the hat simply said this. You know why I wear my hat? Because I'm prematurely bald. And it bothers me. Does it bother you that much that we have to throw somebody out of church? That's a first impression that lasts. And guess what? The guy who wore the hat was named Bob, and guess what? It worked. He came back again. Oh, thank God for second chances, huh? But there's some people out there that don't get a second chance. There's some people that's been run off. There's some people that's been called out and left alone. Anyone that comes through this door has to be accepted. Lasting first impression. They will remember that moment. We've heard some testimonies from our newer people that said, I remember this. They will remember at the door. Some of the time they're going to remember, especially if you're kids, this church got donuts. I don't know how you select those. But it seems like to me there's always the kind that everybody wants. Isn't that weird? But guess what? Somebody may come through the door, and you're going to get them to come to church because you gave them a donut. It's a lasting first impression. What about the tree out there? Have you noticed the tree? It doesn't have donuts on it right now. Have you noticed? See, we don't even, after a while, we just get numb to the way we look. They'll remember that moment. Sometimes you get a second chance, sometimes you don't. Well, let's go to the Old Testament. Let's look at 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel 16:7. This was a different scenario, but the same thing. I taught through this book a while back. Some of you were in the study, and it should be kind of a reminder of what this was. And so 1 Samuel 16:7. Samuel was trying to find what? The right what? The right king. The right son. So he goes to Jesse's house. Jesse's got all these boys. Okay? And so it says in there, in verse 16, I'm going to back it up a little bit. Verse 4. So Samuel did as the Lord instructed. When he arrived at Bethlehem, the elders of the town came trembling to meet him. What's wrong? Do you come in peace? Yeah, I come in peace. I've come to sacrifice to the Lord. Purify yourselves and come with me to the sacrifice. Then Samuel performed the purification rite for Jesse and his sons and invited them to the sacrifice too. Verse 6. When they arrived, Samuel took one look at Eliab and thought, surely this is the Lord's anointed. Why? He was the oldest. There's a lot of power that went to the oldest. There was a lot of stuff given to the oldest because they became the man. And surely this is the Lord's anointed. Verse 7. But the Lord said to Samuel, don't judge by his appearance or height, for I have rejected him. The Lord doesn't see things the way you see them, Samuel. People judge by outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Then Jesse told his son Abinadab to step forward and walk in front of Samuel. And Samuel said, this is not the man either. This is not the one God has chosen. Next, Jesse summoned Shemaiah. And Samuel said, neither is this one the Lord has chosen. It's not the right guy. In the same way, all 7 of Jesse's sons were presented to Samuel. If you stop there, you missed it. You missed it. So many things of our world are the small, less than important things that move mountains for people. He said, look, in the same way, all 7 of Jesse's sons were presented to Samuel. But Samuel said to Jesse, the Lord has not chosen any of these. And then Samuel asked, do you have another? Isn't that, I want you to just look at the fact that when God looked all through heaven and He wanted to take care of man because man had messed up and God knew it ahead of time. And He says, is there anyone here that's worthy? Is there anyone here that can go and forgive them? Is there anyone here that can pay their life with a sacrifice? Is there anyone here? Jesse, is this all of your son? No. Now notice how he's looked at. And 1 Timothy is also talking about this, about when you're young. And I'm sure young people, you've been talking about, even though you're young, you're powerful. You're important. Don't look down on the youth. And so he says, are these? He says, don't judge by the appearance. The Lord doesn't see things the way we see things. People judge by outward appearance. The Lord looks at the heart. Are these all the sons you have? No. He doesn't call him by name. Well, we have the youngest. You know what that says to me? Runt. There's always runt in a litter, right? Well, I can just see him putting his... Jesse looks at Samuel. Well, we got the youngest. They're still the youngest. Sin for him at once. It's just like God saying to Jesus, you go. You fix it. You take care of it. You come. You come through the birth. You come through the baby. And you come for the death of Calvary to pay the sin for all people. Sin for him at once. And then he says, this is the one. Samuel, this is the one. He was a spiritual leader. This is the one. Anoint him. You see, that's also the picture of Christmas, is it not? When the 3 wise men came later and they had gifts. And those gifts were to anoint and for royalty. And to specifically point out that Jesus was born to die, but He's the anointed one. He is the one. We ought to celebrate the fact that we get to sit in His house and sing His music and play His guitars and His drums and His pulpit and His seats. That we get to be here, not because we're good, but because we're ugly. The Bible says our sins are as filthy rags. But when you're covered by the blood, you're washed clean, and you are perfect, godly, ready. The Scripture said you already are that. We come in the presence of God needing to be taken care of. This first lasting impression is your gift from God Himself. You need to look at that person that's standing in the doorway as a gift of God Himself. I want you to raise your hand if you are new here in the last 2 years. Raise your hands. There's churches that go 100 years and not have one. See, God is in the mix. God is doing cool things. And guess what? If you're not careful, they're going to outgrow you. They're on fire. They're working. They're serving. And don't get caught up in just watching. When they come through the door, that's our next people in the family. They're coming for a reason. God has sent them our way. A gift of God that comes dressed in clothing through His doors into His house. That person didn't come by accident. You know what our reaction is? Good to see you. Golly, Timmy, I never would have thought you'd come here. How often do we say that? I just never felt like you'd come. Well, that's a good motivational idea, isn't it? Kind of like Leon saying, I hate your beard. I don't know what I did if I wasn't on staff and I was just attending that day. I go, who is this woman? See, we say things like that, even at the door. Well, I think the roof's going to fall in. Let's just say the roof falls in and we go to heaven and they don't. Wow. See what I'm saying? You get a first lasting impression. At the door is so important. The first impression class, I've already talked to you about it. The parking lot, the front door, the children area, the signage, the attitude, the friendliness, the safety, the warmth. We've been talking about that. We also have been talking about that word, wow factor. Because the book that we're learning from says we can do anything better than anyone else. Now, I'm not talking about competition. I'm just talking about from the time they get on the parking lot and you give it 5 to 7 minutes, they've already decided if they're coming back. And you may not believe that, and that's okay. You're wrong. Because in our world today, we shop, don't we? Oh. You know what the crazy thing is? My mom and dad used to drive us uptown at Fairfield on Saturday nights, and we go window shopping. How many of you have done that before? Yeah, you're all crazy. Yeah, we used to shop in the window. We didn't get out. We didn't go in. We're shopping from the window. And Mom and Dad are talking, ooh, look there, Rose. That pretty new dress. Look there. You know, maybe somebody had, we had 2 jewelry stores, believe it or not. You know, they have watches and rings in the window, and they go by and look at that, and they were window shopping. They were looking in to see if something they liked would bring them in. That's exactly what a person that's seeking out God is wanting to do. They're asking questions like, is anybody in there nice? Does anybody in there like me? Does anybody in there care? The wow factor says we can do everything possible to greet people. Some of those ideas on these sheets, and you're thinking, well, what are you going to do with those? I'm going to share them with our leadership. I'm going to share them at the next meeting. I'm going to share them with Wes and Randall, and I'm going to share them. They're awesome ideas. And guess what? There's more people in the room now than there was then. And you poll the audience and you get all these cool answers. Well, what if it's raining? We should have umbrellas at the door and pick people, bring them in. I'm not going to tell you all the stuff, but that's just one of them. Lighting. All kinds of stuff. We looked at this place, this campus, like we'd never seen it before. And it was so awesome hearing their reports. And they went out in teams. We can do our very best, and they will know we're different. You know what King James says? Peculiar. It's okay to be peculiar, nice. Peculiar, friendly. Peculiar, loving. All right? Hang on, I haven't got to the rough part yet. So, they know we're different. It's already been spoken about, maybe where our town has preconceived notions, right? There's preconceived notions about every business. Preconceived notions. What do you do that's over the top? What do you do? Because we put the emphasis on the fact that somebody coming through the door is God's person that they love, and they're going to be family. Oh, we haven't thought about it that way. Okay, well, think about it that way. We're going to have a lot of visitors because they're sent to us. Wow them. How many feel like you're a loving church? This is not a question test. It's yes or no. Yes, we're a loving church, right? We know it. Does the town know? Okay. The warmth. Here's the deal. I want you to fill in the blank. You'll get a person that when I say this, don't say it out loud. You'll embarrass them. But think of a person when I say this. When I go to that church, I see the warmth of God in... How many's got somebody? Yeah. When I go to church, this person's ready to serve me with any opportunity at all. And when I go to church, I wonder why they love me. Wow. Wow them. Welcome. You know what we talked about in our class? The most standoffish, arrogant thing that we can possibly say, and we say it every day, every morning, and we say, good morning, how are you? I don't want an answer. I just want to get out of your face. Being real here, aren't we? Good morning, how are you? We were even taught that in the grocery business. Because if you happen to get the lady that had the silver hair, that had the walker and couldn't get around, and you're taking her groceries. This was the day when you took the groceries to the car. Complete service. Go out there, make sure her bread is on the side and everything's stacked up nice, and you shut the door. And I say, how you doing today? They said, don't ever do that because you'll be out there for about 15 minutes. Because we realize when we get older, we like to talk. And we miss people. She's just having a conversation. Oh, aren't we arrogant? How you doing? I don't want to know. Just, how you doing? Maybe you're sincere if you say good morning. Okay. But how are you? You don't want an answer. You see, we're just being polite. Did you know politeness never reaches anybody? Jesus reaches people. And see, the politeness and the morals and the love that comes inside of us has to come out. And they've got to see that we care. They got to see that you're concerned, that you're compassionate, that you're not going to judge them. I told the group, this is really cool. I told the group, over there towards St. Louis, there's some big churches. And they have parking lot attendants. This is really true. This is really true. They have parking lot attendants, and you come in off of a couple of entrances like us. We come in on that road and back this way. Anyway, there's parking lot attendants there to tell you where to park. But when you get there, you roll down the window, and he'll say, well, good morning. Who's in your car today? Well, it's Tony and Beverly and Jimmy and Johnny. Well, cool. Nice to meet you. There's parking up front, close. It'll say parking for visitors. You go ahead and park up there. When they drive off, he whips out his walkie-talkie and he talks to the guy up there at the front and says, hey, this family's coming. Here's their names. They're in a red Chevy. They get out of the car, get ready to come to the church, and they go, hi, so-and-so. Hi, so-and-so. You see what I just did a while ago? I don't remember the names I gave you. You don't either. Because it wasn't important. But when it really is important, I have to struggle because I forget. I've got a lot of things on my mind. I got to remember that his name is Gavin. It's important. He's special. He's sent from God here. It begins at the door. And I've said before too, is like, you may have World War III coming in, and your kids are messing up, and you're doing this in the back seat, and you're hitting them, and your face is red. As soon as you pop out of the door, you go, good morning. And they say, where does these kids go to Sunday school? Believe me, I've been called an imp a long time ago. The Griswold boys were all three imps and demons and bad kids. Guess what? We were boys. We got some boys here, don't we? You know what I see that's happening in our boys? They're getting more serious. I see our boys growing up. I see our little girls growing up. You know, I can see the change. I can see the joy that they come into God's house and enjoy. I can see the joy that you have watching them. I can see the parents saying, this is great that my kids can be here. I wish more kids could come. You see, this shouldn't be a reason that we're up in numbers today. As we get closer to Christmas, we need to fill this place up. Okay? But it all starts at the door, so we got to make sure our door is covered, okay? Wow them. I got one more thought. And this is where I get rude. We're going to have visitors at the door. We got all kinds of ideas for that. We're going to have visitors at the door. If you want to be a visitor, that's wonderful. We'll help you learn. We'll help you. And guess what? When you come in the front door, what do you see? Someone tell me. What do you see? Out loud, please. People talking. What else? Huh? Tables, chairs, people talking, smiles. Now, here's what the greeters are going to do to you. How many of you are out there most every week enjoying the conversation and the talk? Sure. It's fun, isn't it? But our greeters are going to invite you to break up the party. So if Carla and I are out there, and it's a family that has children, I'm going to say, Marcy, come here. Because maybe you know that lady that come in. Marcy, come and show them where their classes are, and you take care of them. If they need anything, show them where the bathrooms are, and I'm going to volunteer you. My son says that's voluntold. It's good for us, isn't it? What would happen if they come through the door and all of us jumped up and went to greet them? Now that's over the top. Besides that, if I get up from the table, somebody else is going to eat my jelly roll. And to be honest, if I got up, I wouldn't get to sit down with Heath. You see, Heath's out there every week. Sometimes he's listening to music, sometimes he's not. He's out there every week. You see, I can walk through there, and you can walk through there, and I did it this morning. I said hi to about everybody I just encountered, and no one said hi back at the door. And I don't have to have that, but my friends do. You see, they have a first impressions at my son's church, and what they do, they lock you out of the sanctuary. You can't go in the sanctuary before church, and they only have church. They have small groups at home. They have people standing in front of the doors, and you can't get in. It forces you to fellowship. And when you come through the door, there's about 12 people that come. Hey, what's your name? I'm Steve. What's your name? They do this on purpose because they welcome you. They're an anti-God church. They give out popcorn. You know why they give out popcorn? Because it relaxes people. The smell is good. It's just a gimmick. I'm sorry, but donuts are a gimmick. Because you get something nice when you get here. Okay, but there's other ways we can do something nice when you arrive. See, we got to get out. And I go back to that mindset thing. And I've told you over and over, you don't have to, you get to. You get to be over the top. You get to wow them. You get to do something nobody else will do for them because they need it and they deserve it. You think you're better than Jesus, Pharisees? Ouch. You think you're better than the guests? You think you're better than when some of Wayne and Donna's family come, or my family comes, or your family comes? Are they just extras? Kind of look at it as a plus one. Wake up. We're missing the family. God is sending people here on purpose. And the first lasting impression is not the coffee. And I love the coffee. And I love the donuts. And she buys me my favorite. She just don't know what it is. Every once in a while I get one. I just cave. Jelly-filled white ice donut. You see, some of our kids, they've got this. They can't choose. So some of our kids put 3 or 4 donuts on. Right? I've seen that. They just can't choose. They just like it all. So my last point today is they've decided before they hear Ryan and the praise team. They've decided before they hear my message. The first lasting impression that falls on First Christian Church, Wayne City, the first lasting impression is you. And you can go, boy, that's a burden. No. That's the greatest opportunity in the world. Isn't it what a Christian should be? Is wherever you are, whoever shows up, you represent Jesus. Wow them. You're going to hear some cool stuff that we're going to try to do. And if it doesn't work, we'll do something else. We're going to make it the best place of the church to enter from on purpose. Next week, I'm going to talk about conceal and carry. Isn't that interesting? But that's next week. I'm done. You see, we all have an assignment, don't we? And you say, well, Brother Steve, I never get there in time for that part. You know, I just come and I arrive and I go into Sunday school class. Okay, but let me just tell you this. If you're coming and you just arrived for Sunday school, know this. Your brothers and sisters at the door are touching people's lives. And you can do that too. I don't know what kind of mood you came in today. You don't know what kind of mood I came in today. But all through the morning, you have encouraged me. You have impacted me to be my better self. You have impacted me to know I fit here. Whether you like my beard or not. Beloved, if we could just stop just for the moment and realize what God is doing with His hands on us. Understand that He wowed us so we can wow others. The first lasting impression is you.